Before they won WWE Gold, before custody battles, before the SmackDown 6, before the 619, and before Latino Heat, Rey Mysterio Jr. and Eddie Guerrero plied their trade in the Cruiserweight division of WCW, which included the likes of Psychosis, Ultimo Dragon, Dean Malenko, and Chris Jericho. At the 1997 Fall Brawl pay-per-view, Eddie Guerrero defeated Chris Jericho to become the new WCW Cruiserweight Champion. However, 7 days prior to this event, on an episode of Monday Nitro, Eddie Guerrero lost in a match to Rey Mysterio Jr., who made his triumphant return after timeout from a knee injury. So you would assume that one of Guerrero's first title defences would be against the man who last defeated him. Well, 2 weeks later, on the September 22nd episode of Nitro, Eddie distracted Mysterio during his match with Silver King, but despite Eddie's interruption, Mysterio still managed to pick up the victory before launching himself over the referee and onto Eddie with a tope con hilo. The next episode of Nitro featured a match between Rey and a masked opponent named El Caliente, who looked familiar to say the least. Mysterio won the match and proceeded to rip off Caliente's mask to reveal the dastardly Eddie Guerrero underneath. On the very same show, WCW began airing a string of short clips leading up to Halloween Havoc titled Lucha Libre and the Mexican Luchadors, wherein Mike Tenay explained the history and traditions of Lucha Libre as well as the importance of the masks. Some of the WCW luchadors, including Mysterio, reveal how their mask is a huge part of their persona and their wrestling style, and express just how devastating it would be to lose it. In another scene, Rey Mysterio's uncle wonders whether he would have been accepted had he lost his mask. It is considered as the ultimate defeat. So, why did WCW produce these clips? Well, this question would be answered on the October 13th episode of Nitro. Rey Mysterio wrestled Dean Malenko, and after executing a Hurricane Rana pinning combination, Eddie Guerrero rolls into the ring and from out of nowhere seizes Rey's mask, leaving his face exposed. And as a result, Rey is forced into submitting to Malenko. It is then announced that Rey Mysterio vs Eddie Guerrero at Halloween Havoc would take place with the added stipulation of title versus mask. On the go-home show before Halloween Havoc, the final installment of Lucha Libre and the Mexican Luchadors primarily focused on Rey Mysterio's humble upbringing and his portrayal as the ultimate underdog, which could only help elevate Mysterio as an effective babyface. And later on in the night, Mysterio's match with Disco Inferno ended in a disqualification caused by interference from Guerrero, prompting a brawl between the two. Both men were doubtlessly ready for a match that would initiate a rivalry for many years to come. What's up, wrestling fans? My name is Aaron and this is Wrestling by Waldridge, and welcome to Season 1, Chapter 2 of Under Analysis, where in today's episode I will be looking at the match between Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio Jr. for the Cruiserweight Championship, title versus mask, from WCW's 1997 edition of Halloween Havoc. If you're new here, welcome to the channel, it's great to have you, and if you're returning, it's bloody great to see you again. If you enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, give it a share across social media, and please subscribe. So, Rey makes his entrance first with a very cool ring entrance inspired by the Phantom, and then Eddie makes his way to the ring shortly afterwards. There is a very loud Eddie sucks chant before Guerrero begins to trash talk Mysterio, claiming that he will take his mask. Massive credit to Eddie Guerrero for garnering this amount of heat, as the cruiserweights were definitely not highlighted nearly as much as the heavyweights were in WCW. Eddie swings for Rey but misses. Rey applies a headlock, but Eddie quickly sends Rey towards the ropes. Rey avoids a clothesline and then hits an amazing springboard moonsault into an arm drag. The first of many athletic spots. Trust me. Eddie charges at Rey but runs straight into a monkey flip, and then Rey sends Eddie to the outside of the ring with a running crossbody over the top rope. Mysterio looks for a tope con hilo but stops himself and lands on the ring apron before Eddie pulls his legs away. Rey lands hard onto the floor back first. A lightning quick tempo to kick the match off. Eddie then rams Mysterio's head into the steel steps before rolling him back into the ring. Eddie then follows up with a rope assisted senton to Rey's lower back and then begins taunting the crowd. And it becomes clear that Eddie's strategy is to attack Rey Mysterio's lower back in order to slow him down. Rey's speed has already proven to be quite problematic for Eddie, and it's also a potential setup for the frog splash. So it's very smart psychology and it tells a great story. Eddie hits Rey with some intense shots and then follows up with an Irish whip, which is countered by Mysterio, who nails Guerrero with a dropkick. Rey goes for a handspring, but this time it's Guerrero's turn to counter with a back suplex. It's slightly mistimed, but it does the job. Rey begins to sell his lower back as Eddie continues his assault with a vertical suplex and a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Eddie attempts a pinfall after each move, which isn't believable at this stage, but it highlights Eddie's clear frustration at Rey's resolve. Eddie then attempts to rip Rey's mask off, which adds yet another layer to the storytelling of the match. Rey expressed his apprehension towards losing his mask in the build-up, a disadvantage which Eddie was undoubtedly going to exploit. After Guerrero slows things down with an abdominal stretch, a welcome change of pace, he inflicts further punishment to Rey's back with another backbreaker. Rey is audibly in a lot of pain as Eddie attempts consecutive covers. However, Rey manages to counter the last pinfall attempt by launching himself off of Eddie onto the top rope in a standing position before hitting a breathtaking springboard backflip DDT. Seriously, it is one of the coolest moves I've ever seen. No exaggeration. I implore you to see this maneuver if you haven't yet. My only criticism would be that it could have been sold for a lot longer and it could have resulted in a great near fall. But the athleticism, the perfect timing, Eddie's footwork were all just incredible. After both men trade drop kicks, leaving them on the outside of the ring once again, Eddie throws Rey into the guardrail before he rolls him back into the ring. Eddie screams in anger as he locks in a camel clutch before ripping at Rey Mysterio's mask yet again, except this time he exposed a part of his face. Mike Tenay adds further weight to Eddie Guerrero's heel character by explaining how once he dishonoured Mexican tradition by voluntarily removing his own mask. Eddie then transitioned into his father's move, the Gory Special, before Rey counters with an arm drag. Eddie avoids an incoming dropkick from Mysterio and then counters with one of his own. Eddie follows up with a lovely elevated backbreaker and then goes straight into the modified bow and arrow. I love how every submission used by Eddie targets Rey's back. Awesome stuff. Tenay then proceeds to tell the story of how Eddie and his father Gory were overshadowed by their respective tag team partners El Hijo del Santo and his father, wrestling legend El Santo, whilst wrestling in Mexico, and makes the clever comparison that now Eddie Guerrero feels overshadowed by Rey Mysterio. An excellent piece of information which only complements the story. The commentary does a fantastic job of adding to this match. After more offense from Eddie, a valiant Mysterio begins to fight back, but Eddie quickly regains control and sends Rey into a tree of woe at the opposite corner. Eddie hits a dropkick and then goes for another, but Rey avoids it, sending Eddie into the turnbuckle, crotch first. Poor lad. Eddie falls to the floor, Rey climbs to the top, and then hits a massive diving plancha over the turnbuckle, down onto Eddie, onto the floor. Another amazing spot. After being rolled back into the ring, Eddie reverses an Irish whip from Mysterio. He attempts another tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, but this time it's countered into Rey's Hurricane Rana pinning combination. 1, 2, Eddie kicks out. The first believable near fall, and it was a good one. The pace of the match picks right back up as Rey attempts a springboard moonsault from an Irish whip, but Eddie dodges it. However, Rey connects with a head scissors takedown, sending Eddie to the outside of the ring once again. Rey runs the ropes and then hits a tope con hilo into a freaking Hurricane Rana. Oh my days, if that doesn't make you intrigued to watch this match, then I don't know what will. Wow, What an amazing spot. What is more, Rey rolls Eddie into the ring and then hits a diving corkscrew moonsault onto a standing Eddie. Amazing, amazing action. Rey covers, but Eddie kicks out at 2. Rey goes for a springboard split-legged moonsault, but Eddie counters into a devastating powerbomb. But Rey kicks out at 2 again. Eddie complains to the referee, there's more back and forth, and then Rey calls for his springboard Hurricane Rana. But yep, you guessed it, Eddie counters again into a backbreaker. Eddie then looks for the frog splash, but rolls out of it at the last second as he saw Rey moving out of the way. He launches a fast approaching Rey to the top rope, but takes out his legs from underneath him. Eddie tries for an avalanche back suplex, but Rey fights him off. So instead, Eddie goes for a crucifix powerbomb from the second rope. He lifts Rey up, but Rey counters into a Hurricane Rana pinning combination. 1, 2, 3. Rey Mysterio wins the match and becomes the new WCW Cruiserweight Champion. An excellent finish. What a fantastic match between these two men. For me, this match gets full marks for each aspect. I gave this match a 5 for story because whilst the match was solid if not unspectacular, the in-ring storytelling was fantastic and multi-layered. Firstly, there was the story of Eddie seeking to rip Rey's mask off, and on a side note, I loved how Rey's mask was a part of his bodysuit, no doubt expecting Eddie to try to rip it off during the match. We saw Eddie attack Rey's lower back for a large portion of the match, and whilst one might argue that this match was a spot fest at times, I would have to disagree. Eddie often found Rey's high-risk offense very hard to handle, which is why he was forced into using his strength advantage and why he was forced into slowing down the tempo with submissions. A classic story of speed versus strength. Hell, even Eddie's frustration told a story in of itself. It was great character work by Guerrero. As for the psychology of the match, I thought Rey and Eddie could have sold for a lot longer after some of the bigger spots in particular, just to really capitalise on the significance of the spot. For instance, after Rey hits the diving plancha over the turnbuckle, Eddie leans on the guardrail and stays on his feet instead of falling to the floor to sell, which may have been the better option as opposed to quickly being able to move on to the next sequence. However, I thought that Rey sold his back extremely well and nursed it on many occasions. Every single move made sense. Nearly all of Eddie's offense was focused on Rey's lower back, and as I said before, Rey capitalised on his speed advantage with a plethora of aerial manoeuvres. And in addition, Eddie demonstrated excellent heel psychology by complaining to the referee, slowing down the tempo, and constantly trying to take Rey's mask off, which gave him a ton of heat from the crowd. The work rate was sublime. You have to remember that this match happened in 1997. Some of the manoeuvres aren't even seen in today's performances, so you can imagine the reaction back then. Absolutely incredible technique and athleticism from both men. The counter wrestling was phenomenal. There were no botches whatsoever. The chemistry was just on another level. There were only a handful of effective near falls to build up the drama, but the copious amount of high spots made sure the excitement was always at fever pitch. And the match was quite unpredictable too, which always helps matters. I gave the match structure a 5 out of 5 as well. The pacing never felt monotonous, as it started off super quick before Eddie slowed the tempo down until Rey's comeback, which built the tempo back up for a finale, which provided us with a photo finish to end the match. At only 13 minutes and 51 seconds, you would assume that this match would need an extra 5 or 10 minutes, but that is not the case at all. The length was perfect for the story to be told successfully. It's easily one of the best under 15-minute matches you'll ever see. Dave Meltzer rated this at a 4.75, and whilst I did find a couple of criticisms of the match, sometimes other aspects proved to be good enough to make up for it, which is why I would give this match a full 5 stars. But be sure to let me know what rating you would give this match in the comment section down below. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, as you know that I definitely enjoyed making it. Please remember to hit that subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WrestlingByW. Give the video a share, Hurricane Rana that like button, and frog splash the notification bell to be notified when I release new videos on the channel, as well as Chapter 3 of under-analysis, which I will be hinting towards at the end of the video, so make sure you stick around. I hope you will have great days, guys, and I shall see you all next time. Bye bye.